Can y'all
Seems to
hear me?
be going, but yes, we can. Let me just make sure it's live before we get started.
Hey, before we get started, I want to let y'all know I had a somebody that's real close to me just passed away. So
Mm, mm, So sorry.
last night, yeah. So I'm not going to be able to do the whole thing because I got to take care of some stuff.
Sure, no worries, Rodrick. We have you on at the beginning. So I think Charles will go first, and then right after Charles, you can go and then go take care of what you got to do.
All right,
You have my condolences. So sorry.
thank you, thank you.
So you have mine too. Debbie, I don't know if you know this, but I just got a text. Lil Keith that used to live next to us on Crane, he just died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm,
Alrighty, so we're gonna get started. Thank you guys for coming, all the panelists and everybody in the audience. Um, oh, sorry, it's a lot when I'm running everything and trying to host, but my name's Allie Sullivan. I'm the communications coordinator for Death Penalty Action. Abe is not able to join us tonight. He's actually in Poland right now on a personal trip. But I have been organizing our Not Another Holiday in Prison campaign for the last 3 years. It is our goal just to highlight numerous possible cases of wrongful conviction from all across the country. I just say possible cases of wrongful conviction because we haven't been able to thoroughly vet all of these cases. We just want to amplify them as much as we can with the resources that we have. So a lot of the folks on the panel tonight, we have amplified their loved ones' cases, and we've been working with them for quite some time. So I just want to get started with a short video from Oklahoma. We don't actually have anybody representing Oklahoma with us today, but Oklahoma is still one of the most active death penalty states, and there have been numerous cases in the recent few years that the convictions were questionable, so I just want to highlight Oklahoma and then we'll get started.
Water, please.
If you don't mind just muting yourself until you're brought up on the panel, that'd be great.
Whether it's members of the legislature, the governor, the attorney general, this idea that they're going to really get hit electorally if they don't support the death penalty is just wrong. And so as we're conveying this to them, and as you all are talking to your representatives and senators in the legislature, that's the message they need to hear.
Today, having a prayer vigil to stand against the 25 men that are scheduled to be executed in the state of Oklahoma, starting with Mr. James Coddington.
And we're now going to bring a petition signed by over 6,000 people in the last few days to the governor, asking him to reconsider. We have until 10 a.m. for the governor's heart to change.
Tomorrow, the state of Oklahoma is choosing vengeance over mercy. We need to not continue to invest our resources in getting to the execution chamber for these 25 people. We need to spend money on things that will reduce the likelihood that people in the future will be capital murderers.
We're here because we're very disturbed by the fact that our state is about to execute 25 people. In our opinion, that is state-sanctioned killing, which is against everything the governor has purported to stand for in the grounds of his faith. Because of that, we want to make sure he receives this petition, which is signed by over 6,000 people just in the last few days.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So to start off this event, I wanted to bring up Charles Keith. He is our Impacted Communities Liaison. He's also the brother of Kevin Keith, who was on Ohio's death row. Greet us, Charles, and talk to us about how it has been for your guys' family over the last 30 years with your brother away for the holidays. Unmute yourself.
Charles Keith here from Death Penalty Action, the Impacted Communities Liaison, calling in from Canton, Ohio. It's always been difficult, more difficult for myself because I've always tried to, shun away from my family around these times because I was always that reminder of what was going on. So by me not being around as much during the holidays, they were able to go through the years. And now here we are at this stage. Kevin's still alive. It's 2023. We have an opportunity. We have a pardon at the governor's desk right now. And my family is in total disbelief that how could we get to this point? So now they've turned totally around. They've become so family supportive when before it was just a matter of total ignorance and not knowing anything. Well, now that so much evidence has come out and it's shown Kevin's innocence and, to have the family to start coming in, getting involved, even it's never too late for family, and watching them rally around. It may be a long time, but they're asking the right questions now. So, and that builds Kevin's spirits to, it took such a long time for your family to come around, but they came around, So that's what this is all about, this Christmas spirit, keeping things going, keeping Kevin's spirits up. We're down into the grandchildren now. So, we're trying not to make this death penalty thing a family tradition. So, we want this to be over and we want Kevin to come home. And I always thought that I was the only family involved in this. I was the only brother fighting for his brother. But I met another brother, and I'm so proud to call this guy my brother. And this guy's way down there in Texas, down in Bastrop, Texas. And when I seen this guy come out and fight, I'm gonna get choked up because I saw myself. I said, damn, there's another one of me out here. There's another one of me, and he's fighting for his brother, and he's standing on truth. Here he is, Rodrick Reed, the brother of Rodney Reed, who's on Texas death row, an innocent man. Take it, my brother.
Unmute yourself, Rodrick.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Well, thank you for that. Charles, means a lot, because when I met you, I felt basically the same way you did, the way you described, there's somebody else out here just standing up for their brother. Win, lose, or draw, gonna stand up and be behind them 100% the wrong way until there's no more fight. And I appreciate that. As he stated, my name is Rodrick Reed. I'm the brother of Rodney Reed, an innocent man on Texas death row. We've been doing this for, almost 25 Christmases. He's been gone, and it's tough for our family because we're a tight family, and I see how it weighs on my mom. I used to see how it weighs on my dad. My dad's no longer with us, but he did live long enough to see my brother get his first stay, and that was his last words to me, is to keep on fighting. So it's hard. The holidays are tough, and his birthday was just yesterday, 22nd, and right there at Christmas. So he's dealing with birthday and Christmas at the same time, and every year, you think about it, you go through the motion of your holiday, but the spirit evades you because it's you got so much other pressure on you, and that's been weighing on you for years, and nobody is yet to help us relieve that pressure. And all we're asking for is, the truth. And, just put the facts out there, grant Rodney Reed a new trial, and I guarantee you, Rodney Reed will free himself. You ain't got to free Rodney Reed. Just give us a fair trial. That's all we've been saying from day one. And we haven't got that yet. There's still DNA testing on the murder weapon that hasn't been done. There's witnesses that haven't been called. There's, medical and forensic science that they haven't, admitted on record yet. It hasn't allowed us to, present it on record yet, should I say. There's so much. And then yet, my brother is on death row, still right now. And then there's been people that confessed to the murder that later on recanted. There's been a big thing with the fiance in this thing. He's was a former police officer that was later on charged with rape and abducting a person while on duty as a police officer. He signs for 10 years. He's out now. My brother's still on death row. It's just something wrong with this picture. And the sad thing is, everybody see it, but nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. They're denying us at every turn. But we're going to be there at every turn. We're going to be there. And I'm not just going to be there. I'm going to be there, for everybody that's on death row, because, I got into this fight basically because my brother needed me. The longer I fought, the more I see that there's a lot of other Rodney Reeds that need me. And the system needs to be changed. And I said in my mind, I'm in this for life now, because how could I just do for my own and not do for anybody else's? And yet I say that my brother's still on death row, and I advocate for everybody that's, because I don't believe no state, country, should have the right to legally murder. No one should have the right to kill anyone. That's God's business. But anyway, the holidays are tough, but we keep on moving forward. We keep on marching, because we got to be soldiers. We didn't pick this. It picked us. We got to make the most out of what we had given. And so for me, doing things like this helps me to relieve some of that pressure, some of that pain and frustration that goes on, because I get a chance to be able to try to help somebody else along with helping myself.
I know this has been really difficult, but do you mind just giving everybody a brief update of what's going on with your brother's case right now and what's been the latest news that we have about the case for those that are not familiar with what's been happening?
Well, what's been happening? Well, the Supreme Court ruled back a few months ago that the Innocence Project filed in time, filed that for the evidence to be tested in time, and remanded it back to the state of Texas. Now it went back to the Fifth Circuit Court there, and they are basically trying to deny that. They won't even allow us, they don't want to do the testing. So they filed, there's other motions that's been filed, but right now we're sitting in limbo. My brother doesn't have a date, if anybody's wondering. He doesn't have a death date as of now, and but he is on death row. He has an indefinite stay. He is on death row, and he is, like I say, making the best out of the bad situation, as we all are. And so that's where we stand right now. Like I said, it makes no sense because, two Dr. Phil shows, getting ready to probably do a third following up after the beginning of the year. So I'm told, I've been on True Crimes, been on A&E, 2020, all these things. There's about 11 know, about 13, 14 different documentaries. 95% of them, 98% of them is all pro Rodney. It is, you know, it is crazy that the whole world, you know, protesting in China for him over there and all these other countries, but yet my brother's still there and we're still suffering as I speak. You know, that's sad.
Well, I tell you, my brother, you've become powerful. You've become powerful. They know who you are.
Well, I have to give all honor and glory to God, you know, because he enables me to do this, and then he puts people like you in my life to inspire me, to give me that inspiration, let me know, hey, you ain't the Lone Ranger out here, brother. So he works. He's working hand in hand with me and you, and we working with each other, and that's where it should be. So, I'm down with you.
Well,
like two.
thank you so.
All right, we're gonna go on over to my friend. I have to say, when we were down in Arlington, Texas, I had never heard of it before. In fact, it was my first time flying. And when we landed, you know, we met the Lucio family. And, you know, it was quite a few of them. It was such a great thing, you know, to be in such a large family type community. And to know that Death Penalty Action, myself, Abe Bonowitz, Allie, we all made an impact on their lives. You know, we want to let them know that they made an impact on our lives too, because we saw people in a small town doing nothing and not knowing nothing, and then rose up like giants and took care of their business. You know, they stood up like people. They took care of their town. And, you know, I was glad to meet Melissa's son, John, who was took charge, took command type of thing. But the woman that he had on his side, man, it was almost like a first lady. And I'd like to introduce Michelle Lucio.
Charles, you're too kind, Charles. Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Lucio's daughter-in-law. I'm John's wife. Unfortunately, my husband is not able to be here with us now. But he does know what's going on, and he sends his love, and he's, you know, he says hi to everyone. He's doing really good. Melissa's doing great. I just spoke to her about an hour and a half ago, and she is aware of what we're doing right now. And of course, she sends all her love to everyone, and, you know, to all her supporters who are watching. And she's doing good, you know, with the holidays. You know, it's tough, you know, not to have her, you know, here with us, but also not to have my husband, you know, but we're staying strong, you know, we're still tight like we were before. This, you know, all of this that has happened was something that, you know, I never expected would, you know, I would be a part of. But this is my family, you know, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. You know, Melissa's my mom, you know, she's like a second mother to me. She's always, you know, guided me and, you know, given me the best advice, even when it's, you know, when it comes to her son. You know, she's just a very wonderful person. You know, she's an inspiration to me, very loving, you know. I mean, I don't think there's anything negative I can say about her. You know, we talk all the time. She calls me 2-3 times a day. She tells me a lot also. And, you know, we talk about when she comes home. You know, she knows once she gets home, she's getting in that kitchen and she's going to cook up her wonderful meals, you know. So, I mean, it's just, you know, not having her here, and just, it's hard. It's hard, you know, to her, and, you know, having to tell her, oh, I'm out shopping, gift shopping, and doing this and doing that. And, you know, I know it's even harder for her, you know, not having too much family there for her, you know. But I mean, she has a lot of support, you know. I mean,
you know,
friends,
when we came into Texas, you know, and we started traveling all around the state, you know, it was kind of unusual, but man, was it really effective. And it gave us time to spend time with, you know, with your family. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to get to meet some sisters and second cousins. And, you know, I was really getting pretty deep into the family. I'm meeting male and females, and, you know, some of your kids, and, you know, and stuff like that. And kicking it with the fellas. So, it was just like, I'm family, and I've always felt that way. So, Melissa is very fortunate because if anything you guys shown, it showed love. And I think that's what impressed everybody throughout the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Love
And I
you,
mean,
girl.
it was hard, very hard. But when John left out to do the Texas media, the Texas tour, I stayed behind. Of course, someone had to work, so I stayed behind and I stayed to work. But y'all made a big old impact in Texas. Like no one had ever heard, like everybody says, this happened here. She's from Harlingen. We had so many people from Harlingen approach us and, they didn't know who she was, like she's, you guys just, y'all are family, all of y'all, and we have so much love for you guys, y'all. I mean, John was just, he didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? He didn't know. We had no idea what to do. We just knew we knew we had to do something, and Abe reached out, when John had first came home, and John ignored it, and then he reached out again and John's like, what's the worst that can happen? We're months away from, my mom being executed. And I told him, I mean, go for it, and he did, and it's like, and it was hard. It was very, very hard on him. Of course he did a lot, from me, the hurt, the pain that he was enduring. I told him, he says, I can't tell you, Michelle, how much I'm hurting because you're hurting as well. Also, you're trying to be there for my mom and trying to be there for me. And I'm trying to be there for you. And I'm trying to be there for my mom. But at the same time, I can't tell you how I'm hurting. And the only person that understood was you, Charles. And you were a very, very big inspiration, a very big help for John. You were the one person that knew exactly what to tell him. You had the right words to tell him, and he's like, Michelle, I can't talk to you. You're my wife, He's like, but Charles has always been the person since I met him that knew exactly what to say. He knew exactly how I was hurting. And then when he met, Rodrick, and he was just like, it's like, we're all there. We're all hurting. He goes, and I had never met, and he's never met anybody, who felt the same pain.
That's right.
Mother's Days, birthdays, and, it's just, it hurts me, but that's his mother, it hurts him 100 times more than it hurts, anybody else.
What people don't understand is that we're not only fighting for our loved ones, but we're fighting death. That's what we're fighting. You can't make mistakes. You can't make enemies. You got to stay so focused. And, you're not lawyers. You're caught in the middle between the courts and the lawyers and everybody speaking a foreign language. You don't understand that lingo that the lawyers are doing. And I never understood. And then once I understood, I knew how to bring it to the people. And I knew what John was thinking. I knew what Rodrick, our minds are right there focused because, see, we're fighting between love and death. And love was more powerful.
Yeah. And we haven't heard anything. We're just, waiting. It's been almost 2 years, and we take it as a good sign, because we thought within, they had said, she'll be back in court, in no time. We're going to retry her again, and it's been almost 2 years, and she's still there on death row, but she doesn't have a death date, and we're just, of course, still hoping and praying that one day she's going to come home. She's going to come home, and, we're going to be together again, all of us. And, we're not going to have to celebrate Christmas without her, no more birthdays without her, no more any other holiday without her. And, she's just, there's nothing, I don't know. She's just a wonderful person. I love that lady so much. She's just great. And I'm very happy and, blessed to be a part of her, to have her a part of my life, I love her so much. and she's very loving, towards me, towards my children, my grandkids. She loves us all very, very much. So we're just waiting. We're just waiting on something good to happen, and we're hopeful it will soon.
Oh yes, most definitely. Okay, you are Ali. Are you ready to move on?
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for being with us, Michelle.
Melissa, Michelle, love you with all my heart. Bless you guys through the holidays. And, let love always keep your family strong.
Thank you, Charles. We love you too. Thank you all.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to bring up Rachel from the Death Row Support Project. Sorry to startle you, Rachel. But you have just done such wonderful work for so many years to connect people with those on the inside that are incarcerated and on death row all across the country. So I just wanted to give you a moment to talk about your project and why it's so meaningful and special to form these pen pal relationships between those of us on the outside and people on the inside.
Thank you, Allie. I appreciate that. I certainly don't have the family experience that any of you have, but vicariously over the 45 years our project has been going, we've encountered quite a few people, and I'm especially glad, Lamont, to meet you tonight. And I think you are just a good example, perfect example of what we hoped for when the project started. We sent your letter to Teresa Gray.
Yes,
And learning to know you was just eye-opening for her in terms of the criminal justice system doesn't work and what all can happen. And I think she was already against the death penalty, but she saw a whole bunch of other stuff that's happening that shouldn't be happening. And so, so it's really good to meet you.
Absolutely. It's very nice to meet you too. When I seen your name, when I seen your picture and your name right there, I said, oh, that's Rachel. I've written to her many times. And you've connected me with great people like Teresa. And I'm very fortunate to have met her. And she's just a bright light, man. Her and her husband, Doug, they have been very supportive and interested in learning and the ins and outs of the judicial system. Like I walked her through all of literally from the time we first started writing to now. So she's been to court dates. She's been never missed a court date with me. She's been there, so it's been amazing. And you was instrumental in bringing us together. And I want to thank you.
That's just wonderful. And have you seen her since you've been released? Then have you two been able to be together?
No, not since I have been released.
Not since you were released.
I haven't been able to travel to Dayton.
Okay.
So and she's busy with her family.
Hey, Lamont. Could you tell us a little bit about the conditions of your release?
The conditions, meaning there is no restrictions. I
talking about the plea.
The plea?
Yes.
Yeah, the plea. They unfortunately, I had to plead guilty to negligent homicide. In order to gain my release, to gain my freedom. And it's so unfair because the evidence and the fact that the prosecutors withheld and didn't turn over evidence in my case. And that was brought to light in court on a new trial motion and a granted new trial. So a lot came to light, and they fought to get me to plead guilty. They weaponized my freedom.
Yes.
And pressured me into a plea agreement.
If you was guilty, you wouldn't be out here, bro.
Absolutely. And it's unfortunate they didn't want to compensate me. They didn't want to pay for all the years I did spent on death row. Everything my family has been through, struggling with me through all of this. And so, you know, in the interest of getting back to my life and gaining freedom, I pled guilty to negligent homicide.
Yeah.
And I walked free, no PRC, no post-release control, no probation, no, you know, parole or anything like that. So, yeah.
How many years were you on death row, Lamont?
17 and a half years.
Yeah.
And
no, I think your case is a really big reminder of just how screwed up the system is. So many people, like, it is a miracle if people get off of death row alive. As you've seen today, there's so many families still fighting for their loved ones to come off of death row, and you made it out alive. But it's so heartbreaking that the system forces you into this position, because I can't imagine all of the obstacles that you are still facing and people in the same position as you are still facing, because you have that conviction still on your record. And
what they do, Allie, is they separate you from your family. And then, you know, there's a thing called out of sight, out of mind. So,
Absolutely.
You know, as years go on, family members stand strong, and then you fall down to maybe 5, and then you fall down to 1, if you're fortunate. So they're waiting for the destruction of your family. They know it wears down on them because it's just a job to them. You know,
absolutely.
their loved ones not captured. And then after so many years, I mean, everybody had almost gone cuckoo. I mean, who wouldn't take a bargain? Who wouldn't want to come out of these bars? They know my brother's innocent, but they're dangling a pardon in front of him. However they're going to do that. So, you know, hey, man, look, he says, I've been in here 31 years, since 1994. I'm ready to come home, Chuck. He said, I'm ready to come home. Lamont, you know a guy in Cincinnati they used to call the governor?
The brother, it's 2 of them, Chucky and
Reagan.
Duke Reagan.
Yeah.
Duke. I know Duke Reagan.
They're my people.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a grandson that's boxing now.
I know. I seen him on TV when I was locked up. I seen him on. He got his name. He got his name and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told him those my people.
Yeah. I seen that.
Small
but yeah,
world.
It is small world. And Charles and Michelle and Rodrick, Rodrick, I wanna take this time, man, to send my prayers to your brother and her. Is that her mother-in-law? Is it Michelle? Is that your mother-in-law?
Yes. Mother-in-law, yeah.
And Rodrick's brother, man, Rodney down there, man. I've been following that case, Rodney's case, for a long time, man. And I want to take the time, man, to send my prayers to our family members that's still incarcerated, man. We ain't forgot about them.
It's your presence. Your presence is what's doing it for me.
Right, that's man. I'm happy and I'm glad of that too. I want to, the comrades, they're not forgotten. We still thinking about y'all and fighting for y'all.
Right.
Every chance we get.
It's a shame families can't get the opportunity to go up into the courts, because attorneys don't fight like family.
That's
you don't
right.
get the chance to do that, So
that's right.
It's a different type of fight that the family, they just got to keep you alive. You got to keep hope alive, and then you hope that attorney, you hope they hit a grand slam. But
absolutely.
You got to stand there with family.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Family is important, and I talk about this all the time. How I was blessed to be born in a family that I was born in, and for my family to support me and hold me down through something like this. This came out of nowhere. We never seen this coming. We were just living our life, and my sister Deborah right there, Deborah Barnes Hamilton. She has been oh my God, so many titles and accolades I could lay on her right now. Not just because she's my sister,
right,
but because she is the truth. She's been in my corner from day one. And I'm not talking about since this happened. I'm talking about since I was born.
That's the angel God sent you.
Absolutely. Deborah, my sister, she is amazing. And I like to shine the light on what you talking about, Charles. The family dynamic in all of this. Michelle, Rodrick, Debbie, you. It's huge. It's huge, you know. Being on the inside, man, going through this, man, this journey, being condemned, like they like to call us, you know, it's bad enough. But you know, I've been around. It's a lot of guys that don't have family, you know, that's going through that, and my heart bleeds for them, you know, because I have such a supportive family. So I want to shine a light on the Michelles, the Deborahs, the Charleses, the Rodricks, the family members, you know, the people like Miss Rachel Gross that's connecting people with each other. That support system does a lot. It goes a long way in a dark place like death row. And I can't shine a light enough on that aspect of of people that's doing, you know, on death row.
Yeah.
So shout out, kudos to the family members, man. And I'm gonna keep, you know, proper. My sister Debbie, man. Oh my God, I don't know what would I would have been a different person if I didn't have my sister riding with me, man. I'm telling you, she kicked down doors, she beat pavements, she took on my babies, she did everything. she sent money,
It was all worth it.
she did everything.
It was worth it, you know,
Yeah.
and I appreciate the fact that, you know, I know what I did, and I know that, I mean, it was hard on all of us, every last one of us, the whole family. It was a struggle, and I think that that's the piece that most people don't get. Yes, your family member is in prison, but you're in prison with your family member.
Absolutely.
You might be out here, but you're still in prison with your family member. You're still, you know, worried about your family member, trying to support your family member, trying to, just like Charles was saying, trying to figure out, you know, all the different things that go on in the legal
That's right.
system, and all the things that we need to understand as we're going through this process. And it was a very long process for us. You can only imagine what it's like for everybody else to still have loved ones that are still on death row. And, you know, I want to say, just like Lamont, you know, you guys are in our prayers, because we know what the struggle is. I mean, we're very fortunate to have Lamont out, but let me tell you, it was a struggle the whole time he was in there. But, you know, we have faith. We believed in Jehovah God, and we knew that there was going to be a turn, because we knew he was innocent. We knew he was innocent. We never stopped believing he was innocent. But you also, like Charles, what you were saying before, is you also deal with some family members who listen to the rhetoric, who listen to the news. They can be changed to think, well, maybe he is guilty, right? You know, so you still fighting that noise, as well as the media noise and the prosecution. I mean, it's just so much that goes into
I call it
supporting,
chatter, the
yeah,
sideline
supporting
chatter.
someone,
Yeah.
right, supporting someone that's on death row, and making sure that they're okay. And that was our goal. And I will tell you, like I had said before, it's a hard road for me personally, because you know, I had to retire, and next thing I know, I got an 18-month.
I call
Man.
that driving in the nails.
Okay,
Man.
all right.
Man.
But you know, it's you're supporting your family member, you're supporting the family members around you. And I'm the oldest of six, and I've always been responsible for my family. And so you know, I had to be responsible for sharing the information. First of all, understanding what was happening, and then trying to share the information with the rest of the family so that they could understand what was happening with Lamont's case. And Aaron is not on tonight, but talking about a fabulous, fantastic, awesome, amazing lawyer that Lamont had, that has gotten him to this point. If everybody could have a lawyer, and the group of lawyers that Lamont had, everybody would be free, because this group of lawyers fought tooth and nail for Lamont. They knew he was innocent, and they did everything they could possibly do to get him off of death row. And I wish that everybody had the lawyers that Lamont had, that not only supported him, but also supported us. Also took the time to explain to us, the process, what was happening, why it was happening, and what next steps were. All those things were so important because you're concerned. Like, people are talking about they don't have a death row date. And that was a concern. Like, is he gonna get a death row date?
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's just so much. And
You always have an advantage when your attorney fights for the family rather than just for the inmate. That way the family included, it's a family thing. The lawyers relax. They tell you things that they normally wouldn't tell you. It's just a trusting environment. So you're fighting for our family. So we know we're getting representation. We're getting your defense. We're getting all of you. And rather than just, being separated from the pack, being the wounded animal, that animal usually gets devoured. But to come out and show the criminal justice system that you have a family that won't go away, you're showing attorneys that, you're going to participate in this. You love your loved one. You're coming with a story even stronger, and you're standing as family. And that's one of the most powerful things that we could possibly have in our country, because there's a lot of people out there, regardless of how their lives are going, they don't stand as family. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Somebody's asking.
There's brothers and sisters and relatives and people out there haven't seen brothers and sisters in 10, 15, 20 years, and they're not on death row. And I didn't realize a lot of that stuff, how people really felt about family members. I was like, you haven't seen your brother in 20 years? And I'm sitting up here almost in tears because my brother's on death row and I can barely see him. So you guys have killed each other off by not even visiting, not calling, not talking. I said, you spiritually killed one another off. Guys, go call your brother, go call your sister, go call your family member. Don't kill them off, because that is death row.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
Exactly
And,
what it is.
Yes,
every time, like I said, I'm in Delaware and I've been here for almost 10 years. But every time I went home, we went to go see my brother. Every time I came home to Ohio, we were there to see my brother. I made sure that my mother saw my brother. And I knew how important that was, and we made sure that he had money on the phone. That's crucial too, because he if he needs to make calls, that was his connection to the family, making those phone calls, being able to connect, being able to find out what's going on with the family, how are the family doing, and then for him to lose his father while he was in prison. I mean, that is like so heavy in itself. You find that there's so many people are losing their loved ones while they're in prison, and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. They can't even go to the funeral. They suffer doubly more than the person who actually is out here, able to see their loved ones, able to go to the funeral, whatever. But I can't even comprehend what that was like. And I know, Lamont, you can explain that, but I can't comprehend what that's like to lose your father and you're on death row. You cannot see your father, come to the funeral or anything.
You know my relationship with Daddy. He was my hero. I tell any and everybody that he was a flawed man, like every human being is, but he taught me a lot, a whole lot, and he was my hero. So that was one of the deepest blows I took up in that cocoon. I call it a cocoon because you isolated. You're isolated from general population. You inside. You're in a prison within a prison. So it's like a cocoon to me. So that was one of the darkest. Those were some of the darkest days of my journey through death row when I lost my father. But I tried to keep my focus because we were chest deep in this battle for discovery in habeas corpus in federal court. At the time my father passed, it distracted me. It shook me, and I was so rattled that I just told my, at the time, my attorney what we had filed, I was getting frustrated. You know the process, y'all. The family members know the process. One motion after the other, one motion, one ruling, one decision after the other. And I was at the point, I'm like, you know what? Just file what we got and forget the rest. Let's just let the chips fall where they may. And I went, and Erin, bless her heart, she was like, no, Lamont, we got one shot at this, and we're not going to squander it. I understand what you're going through. She called my sister Debbie and said, get him. And I'm getting called. I'm getting, emails, and then I was on the edge, man. And I'm so glad that I let Erin do her job and the team do their job. Because look where we are now. We got obviously we got good stuff in discovery. We found evidence that was hidden that proves my innocence. You know what I mean? So I had to deal with the frustration of the procedural process. And waiting. And once we found this evidence that proves I'm innocent, I had to still wait for the procedure, the process to go through the courts. And I'm like, well, he could just let the federal judge. Well, we had to go back to state court and do the procedural thing. So, in family, in my sister, in my family, man, they propped me up, man. They held me down, man. And I can't. Shine the light on the importance of that for the brothers and sisters that's condemned, that's on the run,
Yeah,
that's
I just
going
feel
crazy.
I hope that if nothing else, the biggest takeaway for people who have loved ones on death row is that support, that family support, to really help them cope with what they're going through, because it's so traumatizing. It's traumatizing to know you're innocent, you're on death row, you might get a date, right? You don't know when that's going to happen, when that's going to take place. So if anyone that's listening, please understand that if you have a loved one in prison or, on death row, especially, but in prison, that family support means everything to them. It absolutely means everything to them, because that's their lifeline to the world. And without it, they're suffering. They're already suffering because they're there, but they're suffering in even more when they don't have that family support. I mean, and it's so crucial to have it. And I saw it in my brother, and our family was like, we're going to support you. Sometimes they didn't support like they should, but I just feel like for the most part, our family supported. They were there for him. They put money on the books to make sure that he, he can make the phone calls, that he can buy the food he needed, have some clothes, decent clothes to wear. We made sure Lamont had that.
Absolutely.
And I want
Well, I'll tell you,
it
was a good thing Lamont took that to trial.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys, that didn't want to face the death penalty. So they plead with life without parole. And then once that death penalty was taken off the table, now you want to try to come out with the truth, and it's too late.
Right.
You've already made that plea. You're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
You have no more legal representation. It's life without parole, just because you tried to dodge the bullet of the death penalty. And there's so many guys that's in there like that. And, hell, I couldn't tell you what I would have done. I mean, come on, you're talking about a man's life, and nobody can make that decision for you, whether you take it to trial or you don't take it to trial. Now, I know a lot of innocent men would probably go that way, but I mean, that's a man. They send in young boys.
Absolutely.
18, 19, and 20.
Absolutely.
So they may have them make that decision. Now, how do you do that? And then you let him sit for 25, 30 years, and now you want to kill the man. I don't understand that.
It's torture. It's torture.
Yeah.
Charles,
Get
what
tough
it is?
on crimes does not mean killing people.
Exactly. It's like they have a. I've been on death row around guys, been there 40 years, man. Came in, like you just said, at 18 years old. Accidental murder is actually what it was for a couple of guys. I know their cases, and they give them the death penalty because of the overzealous jurisdictions that these prosecutors be in, trying to make a name for themselves and scoring political points and being tough on crime, and that thing. And I'm like, is this even the same person?
Yeah.
That was convicted 40 years ago, 35 years ago, 30 years ago. This is not even the same person. And I've seen the trauma that it causes a person and their families.
Well, in our history, we dealt with lynching back in the day. So our families were traumatized then. But today, I've always said that, I can measure our progress because here we are now. We have a chance to fight for our family members. We have a chance to have a voice and speak up. We're back in our history. We could not do such a thing. So, I measure all that progress. We can save a family member today. We're back in the day. You could not, So, it's just hats off to the abolitionist movement, all the people that's involved in this movement. People that have been nurtured this movement. I mean, without those supporters, there's nothing but just more crime on poor people. See, so those supporters, those people that come out, those people that dedicate their life to saving people, they dedicate their life to justice and what's right. I mean, I take my hats off to them because without them, I was standing alone.
That's right. That's right. And we the title is Family, Not Another Holiday in Prison, and we're talking about family. I want to highlight Miss Gross's role for people like that, the work that she do, and her comrades do, and connecting the outside world with us on the inside world. There's good people that reaching into death row and helping just by conversating. It don't have to be much. Like it could just be somebody to show that they are there to care for them, care about them. Just a letter, here and there. Maybe it's a very important role that you play, Ms. Gross, and I'm so thankful for you. You've connected me.
Well, thank you, Lamont. I appreciate that. And because not everybody has a family like you do.
That's
and
right.
So not everybody has that. And we have heard from guys who have said that this project has saved their lives because they know somebody on the outside cares about them and is willing to write to them. So yeah.
I see the stories firsthand. I've seen them up close and personal. And I know the work that you do. And it's very important and it's very much appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
Rachel, while you're on here, I just wanted to bring up, there's going to be some changes with the Death Row Support Project. So do you mind just telling everybody what's been going on and what the future of the Death Row Support Project holds?
Yes. Well, after 45 years, I've decided it was probably time for me to retire from this. Mine's not as good as it used to be. And for a long time, but it was hard to give that up because it pretty much has just been me with the help of some friends who have run the project over the years. But my older daughter has stepped up and she has recruited a team of people who have been writing to people on death row. And so there are 5 people who are going to be the DRSP team. And they're still working on exactly how they're going to do it. It'll be done a little differently than what I was doing. My daughter said they might do a better job than I had, and that's fine if it happens that way. So
that's
good.
But
I will certainly still be watching what's happening, and it's been a part of, well, I mean, most of my adult life, I've been doing this. So
you've been doing a great job, and I'm thankful for you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much for all your support.
So I have another question that I want to pose to you, Lamont, Michelle, Charles, Deborah. What advice do you guys have for other families that are going through the holidays without their loved ones and they're not sure what the future holds? How do you guys continue to get through it, or how did you guys get through it in Lamont's case? And what would you tell other families that are going through this right now?
You want me to go first?
Sorry, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, you can go first, Charles.
I would just say, based on our family, because not all families are the same. You got good families, bad families, educated families, all different things. I would tell them not to implode. There's going to be a lot of anger in the family. You're mad at the system, and then you start picking and taking it out on other family members, and you push everybody apart. And when they push you so far apart, you don't stand together. It's easy for them to incarcerate your loved one. It's easy for them to bully them and stuff. So, that's one of the biggest things is, be support. Even if you don't love one another that much, at least like each other coming through this trying time of fighting the death penalty. You're the team. A lot of you share the same last name, the same blood. So there's a lot of similarities. But that's my biggest thing is that you don't implode as a family and just start fighting each other over things, and blaming other folks.
Those are all good points. Our family was pretty good. We had some issues in our family, but as the oldest, I made sure that everybody was okay and that they did what they needed to do. But it's also making sure that we personalize it. And I don't think people understand that part, is that we personalize it or understand where each person is coming from, right? Everybody's not going to feel the way I feel, right? And I'm not going to feel the way somebody else feels. So it's a matter of figuring out how the person is feeling about the situation and walking them through their process to help them, deal with what's happening. Like I had said previously, Lamont is the favorite son. So he didn't have that many, there were arguments, but he didn't have that many problems with family members coming through, even though they might have fussed at him. Like Lamont and I argued a lot, right? We argued a lot. But Lamont knew I loved him. Lamont knew that I had his back no matter how much we argued. He knew I had his back. And I think that that's the key, is that even though family members might argue with you, they might feel like they're tired. I've been doing this for a long time. I'm trying to support myself. I'm trying to support my family. It's hard to support you as well. But no matter how people felt that way, how my family felt that way, we still rallied around him. I still had those conversations with the family members saying, yeah, I know, I understand, but we have to support Lamont. So I just think that in our case, because I'm considered the second mother, and they knew that, I had everybody's back. I've always had everybody's back, right? So they were willing to listen to me. They were willing to understand that if Debbie is saying this, it's important, or, Debbie knows what she's talking about, right? So in our case, if we came together no matter what. We argued, people got mad at each other. Sometimes Lamont got on everybody's nerves, and understand that too. The person that's on death row is going to get on your nerves. They're gonna get on your nerves. And Lamont was impatient a lot, well, this is what I want, this is what I need, we're like, okay, well, we out here living, we're gonna get you, but it might take a minute, right? So just try to understand where each person is coming from, because we're all feeling differently about this situation. And that's the main thing to think about, is trying to understand where your loved one is and trying to bring them, to the middle to understand, yes, I know that you're stressed. I know that you're frustrated, but Lamont still needs our help. So if we can do that with family members and understand, and my thing is, it's not just the holiday. I said this before. It's the fact that Lamont wasn't here on a daily basis. Holidays pass by, but you still got the next day to deal with your loved one not being here. And so just be kind to each other, because it's a struggle for each individual in the family as well as the person that's on death row.
You want to go, Michelle?
I have to agree with all of you all. It was my husband, and it tore the family apart. He had a support, when all this started, and then it happened. The arguments, the fighting for this, the fighting for that. And in the end, it was just John and I left standing, with everybody else that was supporting us, who wasn't family, but became family.
Absolutely.
It really took a toll on him, and I mean, it would have been awesome for him to have, his siblings, his aunts, his grandmother, his uncles there to support him. And he didn't, and of course, John was never showed, how hurt he was, until all of it was over. It took a toll on him, it took a toll on him. And okay, hold on. Sorry, my granddaughter. It took a toll on him, and he lost it for a while. And I mean, like y'all say, family should always stick together. No matter how much you don't agree on one thing, you have to keep fighting for that one person that you have sitting on death row. And it's not just on holidays, it's every single day. Melissa's missed every day. I got to know Melissa about a year before, she was arrested, and she was always a great person, always. So just stick together, always show love, support, never, ever, ever give up on the person that's behind bars, because they are still family. And just as much as we're hurting, I mean, Melissa asks me every day, when I speak to her, she asks me for, if I've heard about anybody, and I don't. The family broke apart, everybody went their separate ways. And it's sad to say, Melissa was forgotten, she has been forgotten. And it's sad because, I can hear the pain in her voice when I speak to her. I speak to her on a daily basis, and her mother passed back in October. And that was very heartbreaking, getting a call from her at 5 o'clock in the morning. I already knew what had happened, but she's calling me at 5 in the morning. She had just gotten back to Mountain View from having surgery. And, hearing her cry, and, not being able to hold her. And, it was really hard, and, she was able to view the burial, via a cell phone, video. But I mean, of course she wanted to be there. She hadn't seen her mother in almost 2 years, and she was supposed to supposedly get a visit from her mother in November, and that never happened. So I mean, you lose family while you're in there, and there's nothing you can do. Just continue to support them and be there for them and love them, just like you did before they were arrested. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Lamont.
I'm sorry. Well, she's not forgotten anymore, like Ali just said. So the holidays from and I have a unique perspective on this, because I did in there and out here. So I struggled sometimes after years and years of holidays coming and going. I struggled with being cheerful, because I'm like, first of all, I'm missing it. I'm not home for it. First and foremost, I'm here on death row for it. And secondly, I have to call home, and I don't want to be. I know people are celebrating and having fun, and I don't want to, take any time away from that. That's my mind. I went through a lot of stuff in my mind. I dreaded the holidays sometimes, calling home. People have to stop what they're doing to take my call, and I'm like, it can take its toll on you at times, but that family support, like I said, friends and family, you can never have enough of it. You can never have enough of it. So if anybody listening and somebody like everybody just mentioned, I won't be redundant with this. Reach out to them. Reach out. They definitely will love to hear from you. I don't care if it's a letter or whatever, a picture or whatever. Just reach out and let them know that they're not forgotten, and they have somebody that'll advocate, not even advocate, just man, just someone to be there, and remember them.
Well, thank you so much, Lamont, for joining us, and Michelle and Deborah. And I know Rachel had to scoot out a couple minutes ago, but it was so awesome to see all you guys. And I just want to end on an uplifting and more hopeful note. Certainly, we wanted to end with Lamont because given how traumatic and devastating just this whole death row experience is, we wanted to end on a more hopeful note to show that it does work out sometimes, and Lamont is living proof. It didn't work out in the most ideal circumstances, but he survived death row and he's still here to tell the tale. And so in that same spirit, I just wanted to briefly talk about some of the hopeful news that we have out of Ohio and out of Pennsylvania. Both Ohio and Pennsylvania have legislation currently pending in their state legislatures to abolish the death penalty in both of those states. We are very hopeful that we can push that through this legislative session. We will be working with our comrades in Pennsylvania and Ohio to do that. So pay attention to our social medias, our emails. I'm sure you guys have already seen about that and ways that you can take action and support those efforts. But it would be really cool if we could abolish 2 death penalties in the same year. And we're getting there. So I just wanted to end on that note. And for a bit of motivation, I wanted to close with a video of Pastor McBride. He was heavily involved in the Julius Jones campaign. He joined us in Washington, D.C. a couple years ago for an event that we do every 5 years in January in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. So I'm going to turn that on and then we'll be out of here. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, everyone.
Hey, Allie. Can I take a minute to plug my GoFundMe?
Yes, certainly.
I'm struggling. It's the holiday season, and I want to plug my GoFundMe. If anybody really want to help, donate. I haven't been able to work because of my knee surgery. So if anybody willing, and I appreciate it, feeling in a holiday spirit, go to Lamont Hunter's GoFundMe. I appreciate it.
And I put it in the chat. You guys saw it in the emails that we sent out about this event, and we will continue sharing it on our social medias as well.
And I'm also available to speak.
Yes. If anybody wants to connect with Lamont, just reach out to info@deathpenaltyaction.org and we can connect you. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Why are we so bloodthirsty for the death of convicted criminals when we know our Savior was a convicted criminal? I'm not going to talk about whether he was justly or unjustly convicted. Jesus was a criminal. Somebody say amen. Amen. So how is it that we could be so hard on the criminals of our day when we worship a criminal in eternity? I will tell you why. Because we have a crisis of discipleship in the American religious community. We have not yet learned to disciple people away from death and killing. We have not been able to disciple out of the soul of the American church, the American religious community, the need to use violence in order to preserve a false peace. This is the crisis of discipleship that is in the American church, and we must repent and acknowledge that the problem is not out there, but the problem is in us. Indeed, the death penalty can only be abolished when the bloodthirsty among us, the church, lose our addiction to death and murder. When we really embrace that God has no pleasure in the death of anyone, whether they be wicked or whether they be righteous, whether they be innocent or whether they be guilty. whether they be black or whether they be white, whether they're queer or straight, whether they're rich or poor, whether they're American or a foreigner, God has no pleasure in the death of anyone. And if God has no pleasure in the death of anyone, then we must destroy the instruments of death which displease the divine. Fighting for Julius Jones this past year with our beloved comrades in Oklahoma and all across the country. Reverend C.C. Jones Davis, Antoinette Jones, Mama Jones, Keith Jossel, all of the comrades, all the homies, JB and Jess and all of these loved ones. I saw a coalition of liberals and conservatives, Democrats and Republicans, black, white, and everything in between. I saw a coalition of individuals of moral courage who were moved beyond their assumptions. And I'm here to tell you that it reminded me that the hearts of the righteous and the unrighteous alike can be persuaded. And when our hearts are persuaded, they can, through the power of the Spirit of the living God, they can move kings, they can move presidents, they can move vice presidents, they can move the Congress and the House and the Senate, they can move attorney generals, they can move governors. When the power of the Spirit inhabits the peacemakers, they can move any person holding an elected office toward becoming less an agent of death and more a champion of redemption. So may we, as followers of Jesus and freedom fighters who carry on in the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Ida B. Wells, Harriet Tubman, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Frederick Douglass, and so many others, may we not lose our commitment to peace, love, and justice. We must not allow this wicked system to shed any more blood in our names. America has shed enough blood and has yet to repent. If we do not stop America from killing, we may ourselves drown in the fountain of blood that gushes from her hands. My prayer is simple. God, give us the moral strength. Give us the strategic wisdom. Give us the courageous spirit to abolish the death penalty in the United States of America and all forms of state violence. Give us the courage to do it, God, before it kills us all. Abolish the death penalty. Amen.
Alrighty, everyone. Take care. Have a good night.